Hello, my name's Richard Felix and I'm Britain's most haunted historian. I'm here in Burton-on-Trent and I'm going to take you on a tour of the ghostly sites of this very historic town. With me is Chris Campbell-Brown, and you take the ghost tours round Burton. Across the road there in the Royal Oak is where you actually start your tours, and this is obviously the marketplace. It's got to be one of the most haunted areas, I presume, of the whole of the town. But can you just give us a brief sort of insight into why Burton is as haunted? Because you've already told me that you've got over 100 ghosts in Burton.
Ghosts here, yeah.
That is amazing.
Well, the basic history of Burton is it was one of the biggest abbeys in Europe. It was 14 acres in size. It stretched way from the eye line here, way over to there.
Yep.
It was, and so for up to the 1540s, the monks were in situ here, visited by many members of the British royalty, and there was a lot of activity. St Modwen's Island is also based here, and this was equivalent to modern-day Lourdes as well. But around the time of the dissolution of the monasteries in 1540s, Burton was actually taken over by the Pagets, of course, who became famously Marquis of Anglesey at Waterloo, being head of Wellington's
the cavalry.
Yeah. And then after that became very famous as inland port, and then the railways after that made the beer industry exceedingly large. So in modern times, Burton's well known for its beer industry, with Bass, etc. being here, and Cawes, of course, now.
Yeah. Tell me, you've got a lot of ghosts. Because of its monastic heritage, are a lot of them monks, friars, nuns?
Well, actually, funny enough, we've got a few. We have got monks and friars who are ghosts here. One or two monks have actually been seen on the ghost wall when people have been going around. But strangely enough, they seem to cohabit in Burton, the ghosts. There's 5, 6, 7 ghosts in one building through the different centuries. Wow. And we've got ghosts from Victorian times, Edwardian times, medieval times, and ghosts, of course, from the medieval times, the monks and the Saxons who were originally here as well. So there's all sorts of ghosts from different sorts of areas of history.
But you have got monks to do with the church, of course, haven't you?
We have, yeah. There was actually a photograph taken, which we're trying to locate at the moment. We briefly saw it and lost it, unfortunately. But there was actually, the pews were taken, a picture of the inside of the church was taken several years ago, and they found, when they got the photos home to develop them, there was a picture of 3 monks, ghosts of monks, sitting along the front pews. But of course that church was rebuilt in the 18th century, and prior to that it was the parochial church of the abbey. And the actual abbey church at the time would have actually gone straight forward where the railings are now, as you can see on camera, actually there. But in the English Civil War, the royalists left a gunpowder keg and they blew up the parochial church roof.
Right.
And they rebuilt that in the 18th century, that actual church.
Gosh. Now, this tree, the lads are standing around a tree. I'm sure they don't realise how important that site is.
Well, yeah, the legend has it that the abbot, the actual abbey, used to come out to where the tree is now. This would have been a smaller marketplace in its time. And the actual legend has it that the abbot used to hang people off that tree. That was a hanging tree. That was actually built and put there in the millennium.
Yes, of course.
It's been there.
Obviously the original tree went long ago.
Oh, yeah. The original tree was an oak tree, and they were said to hang a lot of people off that tree.
Gosh.
And they say that the curse was put on some of this area where the shops are because one of the people hung off the tree was a gypsy.
Oh.
And she put a curse, one of her relatives, she was a gypsy, her relative was actually hung off that tree. And she put a curse on these shops, and they said that they won't do well in that area. But that would be where the boundary wall of the abbey would have been as well. Yeah. But people took digital photographs of that, and when they actually got the pictures home, they were to find orbs all over the tree. On this tree we have it presently. Yeah. And it was actually all over the tree when they got it home.
That's amazing. So basically, Burton-on-Trent, not just a beer town. We've got monks, friars, cavaliers, roundheads, witches, and lots of ghosts.
And lots of ghosts.
So I think the best thing you can all do now is to settle down, turn down the lights, and let Chris and I take you on a tour of haunted Burton-on-Trent. Now, Chris, I run Derby Jail, but I never knew that Burton had a prison.
Yeah, there's been a prison here for several hundred years until the Staffordshire Marshals came to Burton.
And we're in it?
And we're actually in it now. Yeah, this is one of the cells.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's actually one of the cells. It's still got the original breathe pipe up there.
Right, because obviously we're talking about a very small cell, enclosed, no window, no...
It was 4 foot by 9 with absolutely no windows at all, and the people would be hung by the castle up there.
Yeah, chained and sort of hung
Chained,
up. Yeah,
chained,
hung
waiting
up.
to see if they're going to go to the Derby axis or the Staffordshire axis
Yeah.
in this lockup, or if they're unlucky enough, actually been taken out to see the abbot and actually hung in Burton itself several hundred years ago.
Of course, because obviously we're talking of an ecclesiastical court rather than obviously most people for crimes would be taken to Stafford because it was the assize town. But this was different because obviously the abbots, the bishops and what, they had their own law, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
And they could hang people anywhere they wanted.
Well, the actual King's Lodge is actually behind here, and there was actually tunnels in the cellar where they said they took them from the cellar downstairs where they used to keep petty criminals,
Yes.
and actually took them through to be tried by the abbot next door.
Wow.
And they also used to put stocks on the market outside, and used to throw the rotten vegetables off the market, off the criminals who were less murderers, etc.
Yeah.
So as well.
Flipping out. So you'd have to hope that there were no dog kennels nearby as well, because you know what, they'd throw other things besides rotten vegetables. You know, so let's not go there.
Whatever came to hand, really.
literally, yeah. So I mean, is this haunted?
Very haunted. This is one of the most haunted pubs in Burton.
Right, you start your ghost tours from here, don't you?
We actually start our ghost tours from here at the Royal Oak in the marketplace, because it's such a haunted place. And Alice Goodridge, of course, of Derby.
My friend,
fame, your friend of Stapleton and Derby, who
Yeah.
died in the actual prison there.
Yeah.
We believe she came out on parole at some point and came to Burton and was tortured here for witchcraft by the Burton boy's uncle.
Good
who
Lord.
actually tortured her here. Took her out of this cell that we're in now.
Gosh, I can't believe that's amazing.
Yeah. And actually tortured her outside, put hot irons across her legs and made her recite from the Bible. And she got one word wrong from the Bible, she was a witch. And if she sat there and burnt to death, she wasn't a witch.
Of course.
So it was a really good option for her.
Yeah. Catch-22 situation.
Catch-22.
Couldn't win, actually.
No, they were going to get them either way, weren't they?
Yeah.
But,
Good grief.
But they reckon, the legend also goes that she probably could possibly be buried here and she never made it to Derby.
Right.
We don't know about that.
Yeah.
We're in conversation about that at the moment.
Yeah. But so tell me about the ghost or the ghosts that haunt it.
Well, there's several ghosts, well-known ghosts here. There's Alice Goodridge, of course.
Yes.
And we actually had an incident when we were actually came off the walk, and an off-duty police lady who was from Derby actually fainted or collapsed because she said she saw Alice actually coming towards her when she was in the actual pub.
Wow.
And she saw her coming out of this cell area we're in now. And of course she was a police lady, it was the authorities at the time who tortured her.
Of course, yes,
So, there's also another ghost in here called Richard Rowe, who was a town constable, a massive man, he was 6'4" in size. And he used to have the Wheatsheaf pub, which is in another area of Burton. He was also a blacksmith as well as a publican and a policeman, so multitasking.
Yeah, just about.
He actually used to tie them in the Wheatsheaf on shackled chains and then take them down Amnesty Passage, which is a passageway in Burton town,
Yes.
bring them in here and lock them up.
In the lockup.
And used to lock them up here overnight in complete darkness. Wow. And his ghost has actually been seen in the pub.
In here?
In this actual area. In this actual area we're in now, it's actually been seen in this area. And there was actually a caretaker landlord who was here, and since he's seen, he actually saw this dark figure in this cell, hasn't been in the pub since.
Really?
Yeah. And the actual pots and everything in the actual kitchen area was set on fire for no reason. The actual gas has actually gone up for no reason at all. In this area as well, all the gas and the taps have gone down as well.
Usual in the cellar.
In the cellar area,
gas taps turned off.
Yeah,
so there's poltergeist activity in the place as well.
And also we have glasses smashing behind the bar even
Same
now.
thing.
And the actual cash machine has jammed, electrics have gone on it, etc. as well. People have felt their clothes being tucked. So usual ghostly activity, but it's very, very haunted.
When you think of the terror and torment, as I say with Derby Jail, same thing, the terror and torment that went on within a place like this, then it's pretty obvious that the memory of what happened is probably going to be impregnated into the walls of the place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a Stonewall theory, isn't it?
Yes,
it's very much
stone tape stuff.
Yeah, stone tape theory.
Yeah.
It's very much impregnated in here.
Yeah.
And there's psychic activity all the time.
Really? So would you say this is probably the most haunted property?
It's one of the most haunted properties. There's a lot in Burton.
Really?
There's over 100 ghosts in Burton.
That's great, that's good. And you're going to show me a few more as we wander off from
As we
here?
wander around the town, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Right, Chris, well, we're at Burton Bridge, very, very famous landmark, but before we do that, what is that on the hill. Because listen, I drive up and down the A38 all the time, and I see that, and I think, what is it?
Well, that's actually Waterloo Clump, and it was named Waterloo Clump after the Marquis of Anglesey,
Right.
who was very famous. The Pagets are very famous in this area in Burton.
Yes.
And the Marquis of Anglesey, of course, was the head of Wellington's cavalry in the Waterloo,
Yep.
and named after him, Waterloo
Correct.
Clump.
Yeah.
And the tower that's actually on the top is an actual water tower which pumps the water into Burton, which gave us all our sanitation around 150 years ago.
Really? But there are Saxons around, Saxon burial grounds here as well, aren't there? I mean,
Yeah, a bit further over is Scoutcliff Hill,
Yeah.
and it's actually a Saxon burial ground where they buried their actual dead nearly 1,000 years ago.
Really?
And there was remnants found there nearly 100 years ago when they were excavating the area for bricks, believe it or not.
Good Lord.
And they actually found the actual Saxon remnants when they were
Flipping
there.
heck.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a few ghosts up there, Richard.
I
as
would
well.
think, especially if they've disturbed some of the burial grounds.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
So anyway, very famous Burton Bridge. It's not the original, of course.
No, the original bridge was around 800 years ago, was made of wood,
Yeah.
but it has a very famous story connected to it in 1322, of course, the Battle of Burton Bridge,
Yes.
when Edward I was actually at Walton-on-Trent. One of the inhabitants of the abbey, which of course Burton was one of the biggest abbeys in the country at
Yeah.
the time, actually went down to Edward I and told him there was a ford at Walton. He crossed over the ford, came up to the bridge and hit Thomas's forces in the flank, and they ran up to Tutbury and dropped the gold in the river, where it was actually there for the
Yes.
mercenaries who were coming from Scotland.
Yes, that's
And
right.
the actual gold was dropped in the river, and there's a story connected to it. The monks were told off, were accused of stealing the gold that went missing.
Yeah.
But the dog is seen in Burton, which was as a ghost, but it was said that the dog is guarding the gold due to the fact that they buried it and there's hidden treasure in the town.
Really?
And the actual dog, the ghost of the dog, has actually been seen on Burton Ghost Walk as people have been going around, as have a lot of other ghosts as well.
Fantastic. What about the I mean, there was obviously ferocious fighting here, on the bridge, around the bridge, I presume.
There was all around the bridge. There was a lot of people killed in 1322. There was also people killed in the English Civil War.
Of course, yes.
In 1640, 1648, 49.
Yeah.
Colonel Tyseley actually stormed the bridge in 1649. And when Charles I, Queen Henrietta was here going to Oxford, they actually stormed over the bridge and took Burton Bridge. But Burton was taken in the English Civil War 10 times, and there was a large amount of rape and pillage actually took place here.
Yeah. But of course, this is actually too far for you to cover on the ghost tour,
It is.
unfortunately.
We don't actually come down to this area on the
No.
coast.
But are there ghost stories to do with the bridge?
There's been ghosts seen on the bridge of, there's been a ghost seen of a cavalier on the bridge. There's been a ghost, the dog has actually been seen down here as well.
Oh, really?
Patrols all
So
the way.
similar, what, black
Black
dog?
Labrador's been seen down here, which we found out with research that the actual abbot actually had Labradors when he was here, and there's been on the actual walks and down here, there's been seen a Labrador on the actual area
Wow.
as well.
That's it. So we're not talking of your normal harbinger of death, your sort of bar guest, padfoot, that sort of thing, big red staring eyes, huge. We're talking of the ghost of a dog.
A real ghost of a dog. Ghost of a Labrador has
Wow.
actually been seen,
Yeah, I
and
like
a
that.
ghost of a Rottweiler type dog as well.
Yeah.
Is seen. They say that the Rottweiler type dog is guarding the treasure,
Yes.
but the Labrador was connected to the abbot.
Wow.
He was here, and it's actually looked and researched, and the abbot did have actually Labradors.
That is amazing, because that's the beauty of it, you see, researching into ghost stories and actually finding facts.
Yes.
Ghosts and history go together so well.
Well, I think it's important really, because if you have a ghost, I think it's like the evidential fact that it proves that there were real ghosts here.
Yes, exactly.
And I think the walks are a mixture of both history and ghosts.
Yeah.
There's always a historical element
Correct.
to it, and I think it teaches people history as
And
well.
it does, and of course it helps to prove the ghost stories as well.
It does. Yeah.
Amazing. That's great. Right, well, you do seem to have an awful lot of bridges, don't you, Chris? But,
Yes, we do have quite a lot of bridges.
yeah, I know, it's on the river, isn't it?
It's
yeah.
on the river.
Yeah, but this is amazing. I mean, Andrassy Bridge, what's all that about?
Well, Andrassy Bridge is the bridge that's now going over to Andrassy Island.
Oh, right.
It was named after that. Andrassy Island means St Andrew's Isle.
Yep.
And in medieval times, or in the Dark Ages in the 7th century, St Modwen was reputedly did a lot of cures on that island.
Yes.
Curing blindness, deafness, etc.
Yeah.
But when the inland port started in Burton, a couple of 100 years ago, they changed the course of the river to get the barges down.
Right.
So the actual island now is landlocked. And
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a landlocked area now.
So there would have been a phenomenal amount of pilgrims, I presume, wandering Burton, obviously, but coming across, not this bridge, a wooden one, I presume.
They'd have come across a wooden one or gone by boat. I mean,
Yeah.
it was equivalent to the modern day Lourdes, really. They
Yes,
came
of
from
course.
all over the Dark Age world to actually go to Burton to get cured with their illnesses.
Wow. Now you've got a ghost story to do with the church, obviously, is over there,
Yeah.
river very close to it, and again to do with the English Civil War.
Yeah, well, Burton in the English Civil War was taken around 10 times by either side, backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And one of the opposing sides on one of the battles that took place here locked themselves in the church, but the other opposing side waited till it was dark, waited for them to come out, slit their throats, and threw them in the river. That was women, children and men.
Yeah.
The women, rather than being raped, threw themselves in the river and drowned to death here. And they reckon you can hear the cries of the women of the ghosts who actually in the water here on a winter's night.
Wow, nice one. Now we're going over to Anglesey Island because again you've got another story to do with a well,
We have, yes.
and you can actually sort of pinpoint the spot where that well
We'll actually
originally
pinpoint
was.
and show you where it was, yeah.
Okay.
As we're walking along here, though, when people come up here on the walks,
Yeah.
the ghost of the black dog has actually been seen along here. It's been seen by about 4 different skeptics who came on the walk.
Right.
They were absolutely amazed. But it was a Labrador that was seen rather than the Rottweiler.
That I find
dog.
amazing. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different twist, that is, to your usual dog ghost stories. It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. Well, it was a Labrador, but we found out the abbot used to have Labradors. And this is, of course, this area was the Abbey.
Of course it was.
We're
Yeah.
in here now. This is all the area of the Abbey, etc. So, yeah.
Amazing. Let's go and find that well.
Okay, then.
Right, sir. We're obviously more or less in the middle of Anglesey Island, and somewhere around here there's a well,
There
or
is.
was.
Well, we believe it's round here, just in front
Right.
of us at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's some rather... Now, this was actually St Modwen as well, I was saying earlier, where they used to come for the cure.
This is a holy well.
This is a holy
Yes.
well with the holy water,
Yeah.
and it cures the blindness, etc. People came from all over the place in the Dark Ages for
Yeah.
it. There's a darker side to this well and a darker story to do with this as well.
Right.
Now, Burton Abbey was one of the biggest abbeys in Europe.
Yeah.
It was 14 acres in size.
That's big, isn't it? It'd be wooden, wouldn't it?
It would have been wooden in Saxon times, yeah. It was built by Wulfric Spot,
Yep.
who was a big man. He was King Ethelred's uncle,
Yeah.
and he was a big man in the country at the time before William the Conqueror arrived. But this well would have been also at the time here when the abbey was here as well.
Yes.
And the story goes that the monks were a little bit naughty and got the local females pregnant. But the abbot was such a powerful man that they were so scared of what he would do if he found the babies. So it said the mothers threw the babies down the well alive and left them down there screaming.
drown?
To drown, yeah. And they say you can hear the sound of the babies on the island. Sometimes you stand here on a night.
Wow. And I presume you have actual reports from people that have
We've actually
heard.
had reports, yeah. Well, we've been on Anglesey Island on Halloween. We had something like 5 reports of real ghosts, people sighting real ghosts on the island when we were here. There's also a little girl who drowned in the river a little bit further down.
Right.
She's actually been seen around here, the girl with blonde hair. There's also people felt their face being touched when they've been on here as well. And one lady came on here, we couldn't get her off the island because she said she didn't want to leave the children who were here. The
Good
children
Lord.
who died have been seen on the island as well.
Yeah. So we're talking of a very hallowed spot, a very sacred spot, but a very haunted spot.
Very haunted area, this is.
Amazing.
Psychics who've come on here said they believe there was a temple here at one time. We haven't got any archaeological evidence to prove that because it was in the Dark Ages.
Yes, of course.
But the psychics and mediums who've been on here feel that there's a very, very strong ley line presence through this island.
Yes.
And there was a temple to Woden on here, and there used to be religious rites took place on the island as well.
Possibly sacrifice, all sorts of
Possibly,
things. God.
possibly.
Now, I can't believe that you've got a site of such a famous holy well, and of course it's not here. I mean,
No,
it's
no.
it's obviously still under the ground.
It's actually still in the ground there.
You'd
because
think someone would actually do it up and make it into a tourist attraction.
You would have thought so. You
But
would
I
have
mean,
thought so.
but I just happen. I haven't got my dowsing rods. Otherwise, I was going to say we could have found it. But I mean, the crystal can work just as well. And I mean, all you've got to do really is to stand near where you think it is, and if I can pick up earth energy, and I do it, it does work. Honest to God, I've done it with stone. I've done it with human skulls, and it actually gyrates backwards and forwards. If it's just like that, then obviously there's nothing. But if I can sort of go to various areas, just hold it and see if it starts to gyrate. If it doesn't gyrate, then there ain't no well there, but... But you reckon it's around this area somewhere?
It's definitely around this area. We've got it on maps, etc. We've looked into the history of it, and they used it for the beer at one point as well. It's strong in gypsum salts.
All right. Moving. You can see my hand's not moving, can't you? I mean, it really isn't. I've got a spade with you, have you, Chris?
I haven't on me at the moment, no.
Because I reckon it's there. I reckon your well is down there. But obviously, without a spade, and without the permission, we're not going to find out. But never mind, at least you know where it is. Yeah. Now, we're still on Andrassy Island, and you tell me there's a rather interesting landmark across the river here.
There is, if you can actually see the steps on the other side there, it was believed that those steps were used to take the coffins down to the river, and they were loaded onto the coffins, or they took the coffins off into the graveyard that was on the other side over
there. I like it. So it's a little bit like a coffin trail. There's one in Swaledale in Yorkshire. Because, tell me, I might be wrong, but were there lots of villages around here that probably didn't have churches?
There is quite a lot of villages around Burton, and there's quite a few of them haven't got churches.
So in other words, they would bring the dead, the coffins, and I presume they'd use the main artery, which of course was the River Trent.
Highly likely.
Down here,
yeah, highly likely.
Unload them up those steps, and of course there was the graveyard.
At one point there would have been the actual church's graveyard. Obviously the graves have been moved now very carefully by the council over 100 years ago, and exhumed and placed in a different place, and the gravestones were placed at the side, but the bodies were exhumed and put in a holy place somewhere else.
Really? But there'd probably be some troubled spirits then around there.
Well, there is. I mean, when we've been on the walk one night, one of the guys was actually telling a story on the side, and they watched a man walk across, and he actually walked across this area all the way along the side here, and then just vanished, disappeared into thin air in the actual graveyard. But he was dressed as an undertaker with the full black coat on, the hat, the lot.
Good Lord.
And that was with a large group of people who were walking around.
And did they all see it, or...?
Only a few people at
this
the back.
This is very interesting, really.
Only a few people at the back, because the majority, of course, the guides are telling the story, they were listening to what the guide was saying, so not everybody saw it, but a few people at the back actually saw him actually walk down there, and I was actually watching at the time because I was completely gobsmacked.
Did you see it?
I actually saw it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So we are talking, you know, I mean, because the thing is, you get people on ghost tours, it's obviously they're looking for ghosts, and anything they see, anyone they say, oh no, we saw that figure, but you saw it yourself.
I actually did see him myself.
And it vanished?
And it vanished into thin air in the graveyard. The other end of here.
Well, we'll do that, shall we? We'll vanish. Come on. Now, Chris, I've been in some unusual places, but this nearly beats the lot. We're actually in a very modern nightclub. It's the Lounge on High Street, and I mean, it doesn't look in any way ghostly or anything. Okay, it's dark, but come on, fill me in on it.
Well, this, although it's a modern building we're in now, there's been buildings on this part of Burton for over 1,000 years.
Right.
And we get email after email after email about this building. People have told us no end of activity in here. Several years ago, it was another nightclub called Barnaby's at the time, and the actual cleaners refused point blank to come into this area, refused at all to clean this area. When they eventually did talk cleaners into coming in here, they locked it up and put everything away, but as one of them turned around, they saw in the mirrors, there was mirrors all over the wall, they saw a face of a man with a scorched expression, all in black, staring at them, and they just run out. That was not only all, before there was shutters at the actual front of the building, and they were open when they left the building and locked up. But when they went outside, it was to find that something had closed the shutters.
Good grief.
And the place was completely and utterly empty. The electrics still go off for no apparent reason in this building. The cigarette machine that used to be in the actual bar downstairs was spewing cigarettes out for no reason at all. And when this actual building we're in, even the height of summer, is always cold.
Yeah, it's cold now.
It's freezing in
but
here.
But it's warm at the other end.
Yeah, it's a nice spring day outside.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
I was mentioning it to the people that own it, and he was actually saying that it was his wife that eventually forced him to take the mirrors off these walls because so many people were reporting seeing this face in the mirrors.
There's no end of people seeing the face in the mirror staring at them. but it's believed that Edward Reitman, who was burnt alive in Lichfield as the last Christian martyr in England, was actually from Burton on Trent, and he was a vicar or a publican who actually had his pub here.
Yeah.
And he was actually burnt alive in Lichfield, not once but twice. And
That is amazing.
They cut him down. They cut him down because they thought he was repenting his blasphemies. But in fact, it was because he was in pain, and a month later they burnt him anyway.
Wow. And they also tell me that just through here, down this area here where the ladies' toilets are, obviously there's mirrors still in there, and people still to this day report seeing a face, probably this man's face, in the mirror.
We like I said earlier, we get email after email after email. They all say the same thing. The middle mirror in the ladies' toilet is in a face there. But these are all people not connected to each other at all, have no way of conferring stories, and they just independently send us the same story through and through. And going back 20 to 30 years, it was the same story then as well. They were seen in the mirror in the club. This area, probably this behind us, wasn't his partition wall, and they were seen here as well.
Now, apparently, behind here, through this, is part of the original house.
Yes.
I don't know. You've obviously never been in here either.
No, I haven't been in here, but you could see on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can get that on the camera.
Well, I never mind that. I mean, if I can get in, I will. I think we should go in and have a look.
I think we'd crawl in and have a look, don't you?
Shall I go first?
You go first.
Thank you very much. Right, well, here we go. Trouble is, I'm getting older. It's a long time since I've done this, and have to be a bit careful, Chris. It's not very high. You can actually see the original ceiling here from the old original house, and that is very, very old. But oh god. Lot of wires here. Be careful you don't electrocute yourself. Yeah, too right. And again, very low, but oh god, it gets higher here. Oh, right. And here we are. Are you okay?
Yeah, it's all right. I'm still conscious.
Just. But I mean, here, look, you can actually see
the roof space. The
roof space of what they tell me is the original house with the old beams. Look, the purlings here, and reputedly, this is his house.
This is his house or his pub, because he was actually a publican.
Yeah.
But these houses have been on this spot for over 1,000 years, because Burton Abbey is directly behind us.
Oh, I see.
This is actually the main high street on Burton Abbey would be directly behind
literally
us.
There at the back of us.
Yeah, literally behind
right.
us at the back.
And down below us, of course, the ladies' toilets.
The ladies' toilets, and where the mirror is that the man is seen in is actually directly below where we are now.
Flipping out. And they're obviously talking to the staff and things here. They've just said to us, "You're mad." They will never come up here. Well, we're not on our own, obviously, but they said they will not come on their own. And one of the young ladies said that every time she comes in here, puts the light on, and the light goes off again. Every time she's been in here, it's happened to her, and they get this awful sense of obviously not being alone in here. There's something in here with them, and they just don't like coming in here. But I say it's not so bad when there's two of you. It's just when you're on your own. Makes all the... Now tell me, there's also a connection with this chap and the Stapen Hill witch.
Yeah, Alice
Goodridge.
Yeah. Well, Edward Reitman was one of the jury who actually in Burton was at the reputed possession of Alice Goodridge, was one of the actual men who was actually at her side and announced her as a witch. He was one of that group. But there's a spin-off from this, because what was actually happening at the time in Burton, there was a lot of political intrigue, and they were trying to bring down the government of James I.
Yes.
And Edward Reitman went to Lichfield and started to preach in the town, trying to bring him down, James I.
Yes.
And he was actually announced himself in Lichfield Cathedral and told everybody how they had the wrong religion, etc.
Hence the fact he was burnt for heresy.
He was burnt for heresy, and he was the last Christian martyr to be burnt alive in England, and he probably lived here.
That is amazing. Now, we also have connections, of course, with Burton on Trent and Tutbury Castle.
We do.
So I think we better get out of here now and go and have a look at the brew house.
I think that's a very good idea.
Come on then. After you.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Now tell me something, Chris. We're in Burton on Trent. Now it's world famous for beer, but I mean, how long has it been brewing beer?
Well, we actually started brewing here at the time of the Abbey nearly 1,000 years ago, when the tourists went to St Modwen's Well, and the actual monks, to make more money, told the tourists that there was holy water in the beer, so they could actually get drunk and be holy at the same time.
Oh, I say.
So that's how it started.
Remarkable. So they were actually selling it, of course.
Yeah. They were selling it to the tourists.
1,000 years ago?
Yeah, 1,000 years ago to the tourists
So-
when they came into town.
So that you do have rather a long history of brewing beer.
Oh, we do here, yeah. I mean, it expanded with the railway, it exploded with the railways
Yeah, of
after
course.
1839. And of course the big companies just grew bigger and bigger after that time. But yeah, Burton's well known for its beer all over the world.
Wow. Now, we're here for a very, very special reason, because there are also connections with brewing, beer, Anthony Babington, Mary Queen of Scots and Tutbury Castle.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, the actual building that's behind us is called the King's Lodge, or would have been the King's Lodge, and it was the area that the abbot built in the 14th century for the kings who visited Burton. We had John the First visit here, we had Norman, William the Conqueror came to Burton and actually stole all the stuff out of St Modwen's church. And this was the building they would stop in.
Right.
But at the time of the Pagets, after 1539, this was the actual building that the brewer of the Pagets stayed and actually brewed the beer. Now, the brewer of the Pagets was the man who took the casks up to Tutbury Castle, and the notes were actually placed in the casks and then sent via a man called Guildford. Is it Guildford?
Gifford from Derby,
Gifford.
yeah, who was a spy.
Gifford.
It was his job to set Mary Queen of Scots up, basically.
Well, the brewer was actually from Burton, who actually moved the casks and backwards and forwards. They were sent to Gifford and then on to Chartley.
Correct.
And they were changed over, the letters were changed over, and then it was sent on to Babington after that.
Yeah.
And that's how basically they set up Mary Queen of Scots. But it's said that at the time, what actually happened is they placed a letter in the bung and actually, more or less, we would say in modern times, set Mary Queen of Scots
Oh, absolutely.
up.
Yeah.
Set her up.
So Mary Queen of Scots' fate was really sealed here on this site.
Yeah. This is where it all happened. This is where the beer was brewed that went up to Tutbury and then on to Chartley, and the Babington plot was hatched.
Wow. Off to Tutbury, I think. That's where I'm going. So here we are, Leslie, approaching Tutbury Castle. This magnificent gateway, reputed to be John of Gaunt's gateway.
Well, it's named John of Gaunt's Gateway because we know he did a lot of building work here in 1361 and 1362. He made tremendous changes here. He was a fantastically wealthy man, of course, father of Henry IV.
Yeah.
So although it's called that, we know the root of it is older.
Yeah.
There is evidence here of building work that's considerably older, yes. But this gateway is so many lives through here.
That's the thing. I mean, it's so poignant, isn't it, that we're walking through here as so many people, some tormented, such as Mary Queen of Scots, of course, who actually would have ridden through this gateway.
And absolutely petrified, that girl.
Oh.
She had got 2 dead husbands, a third going mad in a Danish jail, a son left behind. She'd really lost so much. And when she came here, she knew she was finished and washed up. Mid-20s, it said she vomited blood. She was so terrified she got from a horse and vomited blood. And that, of course, is something that the human aspect suddenly hits you.
Oh, yeah.
We hear these names and we talk about them, don't we, in life or in history books, and then suddenly you've got this girl trying to keep her dignity, desperately coming to this place where she's looked at, the place of her enemies in the heart of England. She must have been absolutely terrified.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's terrifying now.
No,
isn't
it is. And imagine huge wooden gates here, barred, the clamour of battle, the number of soldiers trying to get through these gates, the number of soldiers on this side trying to stop them coming through the gates, and the number of sieges that actually took place here. No wonder, of course, there are ghost stories to do with this gateway. And of course there is one, isn't there, an incredible story here.
Incredible story, yes, the keeper, that's right. What do you know about
Well,
what
I mean,
you heard?
my stories are that people coming to a craft fair here one day, a young chap and his girlfriend apparently came here and were accosted by a man in costume, in uniform,
That's the one.
a knight in armour sort
Actually,
of.
he wasn't uniform, he was in full armour.
Really?
And, he was a massive man apparently, and this chap came and complained.
Yes, absolutely.
And said some idiot of an actor has just jumped out in full armour and told me to get over the fence. What's he talking about?
That's it.
And the thing that makes it so pressing and exciting, that comment, is because we know historically this figure has been seen, but what he says in fact is, get thee hence.
Old English.
And of course he didn't realise what he was hearing. And of course he said, why has this bloke asked me to get over the fence? And I found that, I have to say, Richard, one of the most pressing bits of evidence, because he had no idea what he was hearing. This huge man. Imagine the power of the keeper of this gateway. It was a terribly important job. job because he decided who came in or out and had tremendous power in controlling this gateway. It wasn't the only entrance to the castle, but this certainly became absolutely the main entrance of the castle. This figure has been seen regularly, and there's a very, very strong atmosphere here.
Yes, indeed.
And we also have a very unpleasant and frightening photograph of a woman whose eyes are clearly lights, looking down, and a babe in her arms that you can see clearly right up. And the reason that was impressive is I was there when the photograph was taken. It absolutely wasn't faked, and the man had no idea that there once had been apartments up here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll let you see that photograph because it's very unnerving.
Good grief. Now, of course, here on the gateway as well, was it Sir Ralph Sadler who had apartments here?
In fact, Sadler was one of Mary's first keepers. He might have done, but the one we most particularly remember is Amias Paulet.
Of course,
he was the last keeper of Mary, and he was a Puritan and obsessively disliked her. He saw her sort of at the whore of Babylon, and he was terrified, really, in many ways, that she would get out and spread Catholicism with her. So we know that he actually decided to lodge himself over this gate.
So that he could actually keep an eye on the town.
He was so fierce about her.
And an eye on the main way into the
Make
castle.
sure there was no hope she could get out.
Yeah.
And we've got to remember this is the citadel on top of the hill. We see it as a ruin now because of Cromwell, but in fact it had huge walls and it was packed with streets, packed with cobbled streets, black and white houses, nearly 1,000 souls here at its height. It's a fantastic place of huge energy, perched high on this wonderful glacial.
And of course the thing is, how many souls are still here now?
Well, when I first came here, I thought, I wonder if this is nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't now.
No.
You cannot possibly be here as I have been and seen what I have seen. And as much as I'd like to say I have a fantastically logical mind as a historian, it cannot possibly... Look, there's something here.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Let's go and find him, shall we?
So welcome to the Great Hall. This is the absolute heart of Tutbury Castle. In here, Charles I was, and also his nephew, Prince Rupert. Also in here, Charles II, and there's an ancient wall in here which dates from the 1100s. I sit before you now as Mary, Queen of the Scots. I have the right accent, for by now I have been imprisoned, it is 1585, for nearly 20 years in England. I'm wearing the sort of gown exactly that I would have worn, taken from the record as prisoner here at Tutbury, my most detested prison. There's no doubt about it, for a lot of people who come here looking for Mary, they find her in me. Not just because of the way I look, but I do admit, although I originally thought it was nonsense, that there is something that does happen here when I wear this gown. It's as if I'm almost recognised, and from me comes a different stillness, and when I'm speaking to people, I do know something remarkable can happen. Some say it's mass hysteria. I do remember a team of psychologists who came to see me one night, and one of them said, "A marvellous thing, you're making us think about history, and look what's happened. Therefore we hallucinate." And she's the woman who actually fainted in the King's bedroom. So it doesn't pay to be cynical here at Tutbury Castle, because it is an extraordinary place. We've had 8 scientific teams out in the last 4 years, and without exception they are flummoxed about what on earth happens here. I'm now going to see if I can speak to you as Mary. Sometimes I'm just playing the role, and sometimes something more happens. One thing's for sure, Mary Stuart has something to say still. I believe she uses me like an answer phone occasionally, or I'm certainly not claiming to be a medium or an actress. I'm just an answer phone machine for a dead queen who had great sadness here. And I have a huge empathy for her and the living and the dead who've been here in this castle, and those who will come in the future. You see me as I was in my 43rd year here. I am your mighty and most merciful monarch, if only you'd have listened. But instead you chose Elizabeth, daughter of the goggle-eyed whore Anne Boleyn, to be your queen. When I first rode here, I knew I was finished. I had fallen like a dark star from the heavens to be with you. I can smell the wood smoke now and people running from their common houses to look upon me. I was 5'11" when the average woman was 4'11". Red hair pouring down my back, so heavy you couldn't lift it with one hand. I was Queen of all of Scotland and Queen of all of France when England was in the filth. And I appear before you now in this form. I let you down, England, and I am sorry. At about this time, a man from Derby called Babington reached out a hand to me and said, I have loved you long. He was my last chance. The crown of heaven or the crown of England. And I took his hand, and so would you. For there had been no knight in shining armour for me. No France, no Spain, no other Catholic country to challenge the Protestant queen with a coal bed. You had me held habeas corpus here in England. My blood is upon your head and your ancestors. Kyrie eleison, Domine eleison, Kyrie eleison. Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, as we must all say. I went from here to Chartley on the Stafford Road, and there was arrested into Fotheringhay, where I was tried and found guilty as a traitor. How can I be a traitor? I'm not even English. I'm French and Scottish. But on the 8th of February 1587, I came out of my rooms, said to my girls who were screaming, Ne crie pour moi, j'ai promis-vous. Don't cry for me one drop. I've promised you. I was saying I'm all right, with great courage there, in a black gown with acorns on me of pearls and little gold cups, the sign of faith. For I was dying for my faith too, be assured of that as well. My executioner was Simon John Bull, there lolling in a white shirt, and his assistant to hold down my legs, and I an anointed queen. I put gold into his hand. Thank you, I forgive you, you're sending me home. And having taken off the black gown and beneath the red gown of the martyr, I put out my arms and said goodbye to England, Tail Manus. He swung at me, and he missed. Back of my throat 3 times, there, gagging blood. In the end, I did lay still, the great white queen of Europe. And although I left this earth all those years ago, there is some of me that is here still. There is still much of me that reaches out to man, and you certainly reach out to me.
And I'm standing in the middle of bustling Burton-on-Trent, outside the Queen's Hotel, the oldest hotel in the centre of Burton-on-Trent, and there's a plaque to prove it. It says the Queen's Hotel, built late 18th century, on the site of a posting house, the Three Queens. First licence, 1531. A long, long time ago. Many, many stories of ghosts inside this. People sense presence in the bedroom, people have been touched on the shoulder, all sorts of things, but let's go inside and have a look. And I'm now standing inside the Queen's Hotel. This is the oldest hotel in Burton-on-Trent. Its licence goes back to 1551. Many, many strange things have happened in this place. Of course, it stands almost on the end of Burton Bridge. 2 battles took place, one in medieval times and one during the English Civil War, so there's been a lot of death around here. But we're actually now in the Elizabeth Suite. This is the bridal suite, and strange occurrences happen here of the ghostly sort. A couple staying here on the honeymoon came downstairs in the morning to compliment the management on the tidiness. They'd obviously left clothes and bedclothes strewn around the place. When they woke up in the morning, someone had been in and folded up their clothes and hung them away and tidied everything up. And they went down and told the people behind the counter about this. But of course, They said, well, we didn't send anybody up because this is the bridal suite, we don't disturb you. And of course then they realised, of course, that they'd got the door locked and there was a do not disturb sign on the other side. But of course, that ghost, that tidy ghost here of the Queen's, didn't disturb them. We're in Grange Street, just on the outskirts of the centre of Burton-on-Trent, and this is the Star and Garter. It was built in 1839. It was going to be a hotel. It is one of the most haunted buildings in the whole of Burton-on-Trent. Chris has actually just gone inside to rally or get all the witnesses, because they've assembled a group of eyewitnesses, and I've never been in a pub before where I've actually got a group of people waiting to talk to me about their ghostly experiences. So I think without further ado, I'd better go inside and see if he's found them all. To tell you what, this gives me the impression of being a rather large cellar. Yeah, am I right?
It's extremely large because it was built as a hotel originally.
Really?
In 1830s. In the 1830s, because they thought the railway tracks were going to arrive here. So they would have built a large hotel for a lot of people to stay in it.
This is magic. Now, Ousby, you live here.
Yeah.
And they tell me that you're like the M1 apparently, the things follow you around.
The channel up, yeah.
Really? And so what's happened to you?
Basically, I just witnessed like strange noises, shapes, that kind of thing. A figure on the stairs, which I'm still not convinced about.
Yeah.
It's like a gypsy woman.
This is on the stairs, upstairs, or?
Yeah, like sometimes the landlady says you get like pungent smells of perfume and that sort of thing on the stairs, which obviously is not air freshener.
No, and nobody wears that sort of perfume?
No,
or, no.
we witnessed something. We did a karaoke, like we had a karaoke evening up there, and there was two of us singing, and we both witnessed a black shadow by the curtain in the right-hand window, just standing there. We couldn't actually make out whether it was male or female or what, but there was.
But it was a black sort of hazy figure?
Yeah.
What about down here? Because this is good. I mean, through here is amazing.
This is absolutely immense. Yeah, I mean, we've witnessed like little particles of light and that kind of thing. You get cold spots in here. Heard a few voices here and there, but nothing major.
No, you actually said that you heard someone cough here. When was this recently?
That was earlier. Yeah.
What, today?
Yeah, it was about 2 hours ago. So I come down to sort the Fosters out, and then someone coughed. So that was definitely, because I thought it was Alan coming down, but it wasn't.
Crikey. And I mean, the landlady's already said, you know, she's not coming down here. She really doesn't like it, does she?
And there has been like a while back when I first come here, there was like someone that said like shh. Like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, we don't know who haunts it down here or who haunts the building, but there is a story. That someone hanged themselves, and there's a story possibly someone hanged themselves down here. But I mean, my first impressions at looking at the ceiling is how anybody could possibly hang themselves from here. They'd have to be a very short person to be able to hang themselves from here. So that, for me, it rules it out. Yeah. But you actually did say there's a possibility that actually someone was hanged somewhere else. In other words, I've been told that there could be something that happened here, possibly a murder.
A murder, and then they might have been hung at the end of it.
Yes, exactly, somewhere else, which is possible. But what we need to do really is to get into the newspapers of the time or something and see if we can find anything.
Yeah,
some evidence, but even so, it's got a fantastic feel about it now. And you actually bring people down here, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Customers come for a drink, and then actually come on a tour down here. That's amazing. Anyway, I think we've got one or two eyewitnesses, or witnesses anyway, upstairs in the bar, and the coffee's ready, so come back upstairs.
Yeah, good.
Now, Chris, I mean, this to me is a scoop, because I mean, you obviously don't come to the Star and Garter on your ghost tour, because it's obviously a little bit too far out, but you insisted that we came here because it is so haunted.
There's so many different ghosts in this one building. I mean, as we were saying earlier, this was built originally as a hotel.
Yeah.
The Truman story about there was a picture on the wall, and various past people have been here, various landlords, etc. And they've papered over the picture on that wall, but the picture of Ben Truman kept coming through. And also, there was a kitchen here at one time, and when people were out in the actual pub area, they used to serve meals, and the chandelier screwed itself off the kitchen ceiling and crashed down on the people in the kitchen as well. tables were moved, chairs were moved, and I believe there's even an increased amount of paranormal activity actually in this building, which most of these people around the table have experienced.
I mean, this is a scoop. This is a ghost party. I mean, never before have I had so many witnesses in one place. Because normally when we come into a pub, people tell us that, oh, you know, so and so down the road, a customer saw this or heard it. But here we are. I mean, Mikey, Alison, Alan, Ousby, Mary, you've all had experiences here in the pub. I mean, let's start with you, Mary. What happened?
Well, I was just down the cellar when it's the last licensee before Alan and Alison.
Yeah.
And I've been down the cellar, you know, changing the cake.
Yeah, it's a bit spooky, isn't it, down there?
It is. You're all right. It's just when you pass those two doors, then I think I run.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm in the cellar. And then when I pass those two doors on the left-hand side, I run back up the stairs again. There's something in that. I have been in there, but not on my own.
No.
Well, there's this before now. I've been down there, and the lads, or you know, some of the customers, they turn the light on at the top of the stairs. Well, it's suddenly darkness, you know, and I said, "Oh, I'm screaming," and I come up the stairs. Well, that didn't think anything of it. But this particular day, I was down there, and I was changing one of the casks and bending over. You know, you got to turn and twist, and somebody went like, touch my bum, and I says, "Now pack it in." You know, because
Did you think someone would come down after you or something like that?
Yeah, because they did you do that sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, to tease you.
Yeah.
Well, to me anyway. And I looked round, there was nobody there, and I ran up those stairs.
I think you did.
I just thought, it's so strange.
Flipping
you know.
out.
Yeah.
And I presume you never went down there again, alone.
I have, but nothing's
Don't like
happened
it.
since. No. But I mean, more I've heard since, over the, you know, the months and years.
You now realise that what happened to you was probably...
I just go a bit more frightened. I've
should
been
think
down
so.
with Alison, haven't I?
Yeah.
They go down together.
We go down together.
Yeah, best way. But we've heard your stories already down there. I mean, what's happened to you?
God, I've had a few things.
You're sitting in a seat
chair.
where a ghost appears.
Yeah, we are. When the sun shines through the window, it's only on a sunny day. Honestly, it's only, and suddenly you'll be doing something behind the bar there, and this little old fella in his Harrington jacket and his check shirt just suddenly pop up, supping his beer. But as quick as you've seen him, he's gone. But he is as plain as day.
And he's sitting where you are now.
Exactly where. Well, yeah, roughly where I am now.
Well,
As soon as you like put the glasses in the glass washer, you look up and you
There
see
he
it
is.
for a split second and
then gone.
again.
A little bit like an echo from the past, or a split in a dimension of...
Wow. As plain as we are sat here now.
I stay when I was hoovering in here. Very hot, sunny day, and the sun was shining through the windows. Very warm in here. And suddenly, my right hand side was like a very calming feeling. It wasn't scary, frightening. Like almost like a breeze, very slight breeze. It was a very strange feeling. And there wasn't any wind or anything from anywhere. That was very bizarre. And that was exactly here. It was
Crikey.
here. And the sun was coming through the window. It was very warm in that area. It just on the right hand side just went very. But I felt very calm and at ease.
Yeah.
It's not scary. It's not a scary one.
No. Now, most ghosts aren't, you know, to be honest with you. We are scared of ghosts, but when you see them, or they just look real and act normal.
Yeah, but this one doesn't give you that, even to the extent where it makes you jump. It's a startle, not a, oh, you bugger. Do you know what
yes,
mean?
I do.
It's a start, like, oh, there he is. You know, it really is a weird sensation, isn't it? It's not like where's, say, downstairs in the cellar where it's cold, it's
dark.
eerie,
I know, it's different, isn't it?
it's not good. This is just, you know, as though there's someone sat there having his pint of beer, and as soon as you see him, he disappears.
Yeah. It was someone that was happy here, and just returns every now and then.
Yeah, because
he loved it,
you
because he was
don't
happy.
get that feeling of anything else, but the fact you've got someone in your pub.
Yeah.
You know, there's no eerie feeling. You don't feel like you're being watched, or
No.
don't feel like something's following you. He's just there.
That's amazing.
Almost like a signature, basically.
Yeah, you left your signature. And Mikey, what about? I mean, we've just dragged you away from your pool game, haven't we?
You have, yeah.
And what's?
Well, to be honest, all I've really seen in here was a little boy sitting there. And it was a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night, I was coming through, I was behind the bar, just wandering through to the till, and looked up, and there's a little boy sitting there. And I looked around and then looked back, he wasn't there. It's very, very strange. It was just no reason for him to be there.
Did he look strange? When I say strange, I mean, did he look
just
of
a normal boy, but he's very...
old-fashioned clothes?
Yeah. Well, it's like an old sailor hat.
Oh, right.
Blue and there's a blue.
Well, you don't get many of them in here on a Saturday night, do you, nowadays?
No,
Real
no,
kids
no.
like that.
Unless it's fancy dress.
Yeah.
Some of the adults maybe in nappies and stuff.
And a couple of
So-
people have seen, and you've seen it, haven't you? I know you've seen.
Legs walking.
Like little legs past this doorway here. When I've just been sitting near the bar, just quickly past that doorway there into the
Wow.
in here running through. One lad saw it one night and said to us, "Where's Alan's twins?" And I said, "They're in bed." Why? He said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Because I've just seen a child walk past that door,
Oh, I say.
and there was nothing in here. The girls were asleep upstairs in bed."
Awfully, because I'd come through, didn't I?
Yeah,
Thinking
very cold.
one of the babies had been down.
Yeah.
Awfully eerie feeling in the room though.
Oh, I say.
Whether or not so back to imagination, you know,
Well-
you put it down to this, that and the
Yeah,
other.
but not all of it. Not so many people. Do you know what I mean?
Blimey, it was... Sometimes you can walk into this room, the cellar and the function room. Would you say? These three rooms, you can walk into them sometimes and feel so damn uncomfortable, it isn't right.
Amazing.
You don't want to be there. Anywhere this side of the building, basically.
Is haunted. That's it. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, what better way to finish a Burton on Trent ghost video than in a place that's got so many ghosts, but with so many eyewitnesses? It's amazing. Thank you all very much. Fantastic.